Imagine a world where two superpowers stand on the brink of nuclear annihilation, their finger poised over the launch button where every decision could spark a war that wipes out millions in an instant. This was the reality for nearly half a century during the Cold War, a deadly silent battle fought in the shadows. Through proxy wars, secret crises, and terrifying near misses, though the guns never directly clashed between the US and the Soviet Union, the Cold War's deadliest moments claimed millions of lives and brought humanity closer to destruction than ever before. Today, we uncover the darkest, most dangerous chapters of this global struggle moment. Introduction to the Cold War. The Cold War, lasting from 1947 to 1991, was a global conflict not fought with direct military battles between the two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, but rather through ideological competition, political tension, and an arms race. After World War II, these former allies quickly turned into rivals as capitalism and communism clashed. The world was divided into two opposing camps, each aiming to spread its influence globally. Though they never directly fought, they engaged in proxy wars, espionage, and propaganda. This tension shaped much of the latter half of the 20th century and brought the world perilously close to nuclear disaster several times, making it one of history's deadliest periods, despite the absence of full-scale war between the main powers. Nuclear arms race and the threat of mutually assured destruction mad. The Cold War was defined by an intense nuclear arms race between the US and USSR. Both countries rapidly built vast stockpiles of nuclear weapons, capable of wiping out entire cities many times over. This buildup created a strategy known as mutually assured destruction, or MAD, meaning if one side launched a nuclear attack, the other would retaliate with equal or greater force, ensuring total destruction for both. This doctrine paradoxically prevented nuclear war, but kept the world in a state of constant fear. The risk of accidental launches or miscalculations meant that millions lived under the threat of instant annihilation. This nuclear standoff made the Cold War uniquely terrifying and deadly in potential. The Berlin Crisis and the Berlin Wall, 1961. Berlin became the epicenter of Cold War tensions. After World War II, Germany was divided, with Berlin split into East and West sectors controlled by the Soviets and the Western Allies. East Germany was under communist control, and many East Germans tried to flee to the West seeking freedom and better opportunities. In 1961, the Soviets and East German government built the Berlin Wall, a concrete barrier that physically and ideologically separated the city. Over the years, hundreds died attempting to cross the wall, shot by guards or caught in deadly accidents. The wall became a grim symbol of Cold War division and the human cost of ideological conflict. The Korean War, 1950 to 1953. The Korean War was the first major armed conflict of the Cold War, a brutal proxy war between communist North Korea, supported by China and the USSR, and capitalist South Korea, backed by the United States and United Nations. Fighting began when North Korea invaded the South, hoping to reunify the peninsula under communism. The war quickly escalated into a bloody stalemate marked by devastating battles, harsh winters, and enormous casualties. More than 2 million civilians died, alongside countless soldiers. The war ended in 1953 with an armistice, but no peace treaty, leaving Korea divided and tensions high. A volatile situation that persists today. The Cuban Missile Crisis, 1962. The Cuban Missile Crisis was the most dangerous moment of the Cold War, bringing the world to the brink of nuclear war. In 1962, the US discovered Soviet nuclear missiles stationed secretly in Cuba, just 90 miles from American shores. This revelation sparked a tense 30-day standoff between US President John F. Kennedy and Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev. Both sides demanded the removal of missiles, while secretly preparing for possible war. The crisis ended peacefully after intense negotiations, with the USSR withdrawing its missiles in exchange for the US promising not to invade. Cuba and secretly removing missiles from Turkey, event highlighted how close Cold War brinkmanship could push humanity toward disaster. Vietnam War, 1955 to 1975. The Vietnam War was one of the deadliest and most controversial conflicts of the Cold War era. It began as a struggle between communist North Vietnam, supported by the USSR and China, and capitalist South Vietnam, backed by the United States. The US aimed to stop the spread of communism in Southeast Asia through military intervention. But the war became a costly and brutal quagmire. Millions of Vietnamese civilians and soldiers died, alongside over 58,000 American troops. The conflict caused massive destruction, widespread suffering, and a political division within the US. Ultimately, the North Vietnamese succeeded in reunifying the country under communist rule after the US withdrawal in 1975. Afghan-Soviet War, 1979 to 1989. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979 was a major Cold War conflict with deadly consequences. The USSR intervened to support a communist government facing a strong insurgency from Mujahideen fighters, who were fiercely resistant to Soviet rule. The United States, along with Pakistan and other allies, supplied the Mujahideen with weapons and training to fight the Soviets. The war dragged on for a decade, causing enormous casualties and devastation to Afghan society. The conflict drained Soviet resources and morale, contributing to the eventual collapse of the USSR. Afghanistan became a battleground for Cold War proxy warfare, with the aftermath leading to ongoing regional instability, nuclear accidents and near misses. Throughout the Cold War, there were several terrifying nuclear accidents and near misses that could have triggered global catastrophe. One of the most famous incidents occurred in 1983, when Soviet early warning systems falsely detected a US missile launch. Soviet officer Stanislav Petrov correctly identified it as a false alarm, preventing a retaliatory strike. Other accidents, like the 1961 Goldsboro incident, where a US nuclear bomb nearly dropped unintentionally, revealed the fragility of nuclear safety. These events showed how close humanity came to accidental nuclear war due to human error, technical failures, or miscommunication, underscoring the deadly risks of Cold War tensions. Proxy conflicts and regime overthrows. The Cold War saw numerous proxy conflicts where the US and USSR backed opposing sides in local wars to extend their influence without direct confrontation. Countries in Africa, Latin America, and Asia became battlegrounds for ideological struggle. The US supported coups and regimes to prevent communism's spread, sometimes leading to brutal dictatorships and civil wars. The Soviet Union did the same, supporting socialist movements and governments. These proxy wars caused millions of deaths and long-lasting instability. The deadly consequences included mass repression, famine, and displacement. Cold War politics shaped many countries' histories, leaving scars that remain to this day. Impact on civilian populations. While the Cold War was often framed as a superpower rivalry, ordinary civilians paid the highest price. Many Cold War conflicts caused widespread suffering, including forced displacements, famines, and atrocities. For example, in Cambodia, the Khmer Rouge's rise was influenced indirectly by Cold War dynamics, leading to genocide and the deaths of nearly 2 million people. In other regions, civilians were caught in the crossfire of proxy wars, with millions becoming refugees. The Cold War's ideological battles often overshadowed the human toll. But its deadliest moments remind us that global power struggles come at an enormous cost to everyday lives. End of the Cold War and legacy. The Cold War officially ended with the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. These events marked the victory of Western capitalism and democracy over communism, but left a complex legacy. The enormous nuclear stockpiles built during the conflict remained, raising concerns about future arms control. Many regions devastated by proxy wars struggled to rebuild, with political instability persisting for decades. The Cold War also shaped international relations, alliances, and military strategies for years to come. Its deadliest moments serve as a reminder of how close humanity came to destruction and the lasting impact of ideological conflict.